system or way of life imposed upon the PDA child will likely lead to two outcomes: avoidance or destruction. The antidote to being the avoider is becoming the destroyer. PDAs are pattern destroyers at heart. Compliance on the part of the PDA child arises not from a natural willingness to cooperate, but from imposter syndrome and from their formidable aptitude in social mimicry combined, the latter successfully fooling everyone in their midst that they are willing, genuine, and capable. The malignant inner critic prevails over the PDA child's free and kindlier nature and convinces them that failing or standing out may lead to problems even greater than those brought about by demand avoidance. Thus, fawning becomes the default mode of retaining control, where demand avoidance proves the less efficient and less safer of the two. The inner critic does in fact convince the PDA child that there is in fact a compelling what's in it for me factor, as going against the new ad hoc drive to conform feels fatal. A system created by the PDA child can be maintained insofar as the system has been crafted from the PDA child's heart, organically and spontaneously, and continues to be maintained in this way. People have asked me before how it is that I possess the demand tolerance to practice my musical instruments every day. My answer to this is that I never tell myself to practice. It is something I simply just do. My love for music in my heart spurs me towards my instruments, which, when approached organically, grant me euphoria in return. As soon as my mind intervenes, and I tell myself I should probably sit down at 8 p.m. and play some guitar or piano, the whole process becomes intellectualized, and the PDA essence now has a valid reason to avoid practicing. If one feels enough love and passion for something in their heart, it will get done. One's preferred activities or hobbies should contain natural gravity. You can't push the PDA child into doing anything, which is precisely what their thoughts do when they tell themselves they need to do something, but they are able to be lured in, which is what happens when they gravitate effortlessly towards their video games. If we have to compensate with instructive thoughts, it means there is insufficient natural inclination for the thing we wish to do. Doing something for the love of something is enough to propel us towards the activities we love. As soon as we have to think about doing them or tell ourselves we have to do them, this indicates 1, a lack of love for the thing itself, and 2, that these instructive thoughts will generate a demand effect. The PDA child is known to avoid the things they want to do, but I must stress the difference between wanting to do something and wanting to want to do something. The former needs no intellectual compensation. It is the hunger of one's heart gently nudging its host into an area of genuine interest or fascination. The latter is different. It is a desire based on the false assumption that the object should be interesting and desirable, perhaps pointed out or practiced by one's peers or primary caregivers. The latter is akin to a stifled fawn effect. The need to please and the need to do is strong, but the demand avoidance factor is still equally, if not more strong. But the latter is likely to not be a true desire felt in the heart. In fact, the true desire here could be that of wanting to please, fit in, or not let oneself down. This can masquerade, for example, as wanting to go to school. The PDA child will dismantle their own system as soon as that same inner critic decides to intervene. Maintenance itself can easily become a demand, as maintenance is required for systems to remain efficient and afloat. As soon as the PDA child recognizes that their created system requires maintenance, that inner voice will manifest as an external entity, like someone else exhorting them to maintain, and thus the ownership gets transferred from the PDA child's true self to the inner critic. It is safe to say at this point, the system will now be destroyed. What is interesting here is that when the PDA child is burdened by a system of someone else's making, if they don't immediately avoid or destroy, thus retaining their true essence, that inner critic may trick them into conforming. But when they create a system themselves, that same inner voice often becomes the catalyst for destruction. The solution is simple. When things are authentic and organic and the PDA child's true essence has been retained, they prevail over that malignant inner critic and vice versa. The PDA child is a self-governing organism. Parents are often scared that if they simply leave their child to their own devices, then nothing will ever get done. But that's the beauty of the bubble. It will initiate expansion once the threat of encroachment has been eliminated. The sphere of importance, or the bubble, can start off as rudimentary or crude, but with trust and time you may find that your PDA child creates something spectacular whilst you're not looking, like design and build their own computer, something a PDA kid I know actually ended up doing. That which is imposed upon us from the outside dims our spirit and causes us to recoil. Space and time, on the other hand, can become the virtual playground on which our latent productivity can finally be expressed. Near the end of my book, I wrote this: as soon as the world backs off, then I get to work. PDA is not synonymous with never doing anything. PDA is synonymous with I can only do it my way. To us, the doing aspect isn't worthless. It's sacred. We can only do when it is the ideal time to do. We can only do when doing is authentic. We can only do when doing is worth it. Honour thy do.